We all have that anime that we sleep on, and not knowing the true potential of that anime. Some animes that you end up sleeping on becomes one of the best animes you ever watch. Or some of the animes you sleep on are probably the worst things you ever watch, and you hope that you just end up in a coma for the rest of your life. And there's multiple examples of that. And there's one anime that I slept on and only watched 2 episodes on, and the anime is called Bungo Stray Dogs. And the first time watching this anime at first, I only really watched 2 episodes of it until I found another interesting anime. And I usually love giving certain animes a second chance, mainly because I'm probably missing out on something. I did that for Black Clover, and that's probably one of my favorite new gen animes out of the other new gen anime out there. So I decided to give Stray Dogs a second chance, because why not give an anime a second chance? I give so many of my animes a second chance and they end up becoming my favorite. Unless you're a girlfriend, unless you're loveless. Those two are just unredeemably bad that I will never give it a second chance. But if you guys want to give me a chance, make sure you guys like and subscribe, and let's talk about this anime I gave up on. The story focuses on a young man named Nakajima. After getting kicked out the orphanage, Nakajima saves a detective named Osamu, who is trying to, how do I say this the most friendly YouTube way? He's trying to see Morgan Freeman. Let's just put it at that. After saving Osamu from meeting Morgan Freeman, Nakajima learns that he is the reason why he got kicked out the orphanage. It's because he has this ability where he could turn into a tiger, which forced them to kick him out. After Osamu quickly takes care of Nakajima, he decides to take Nakajima under his wing to be a part of the armed detective agency. And that's really the main story of it. Oh, also, there's a bounty on Nakajima's head for $1 billion, or 1 billion yen. I don't know how much that is in US thing. I'll probably put on screen. But yeah, another interesting part of the story. Also, the mafia is here. And for this series, I got a few gripes with it more than positive. I'm gonna go on with the positives. I think the animation in this series is absolutely beautiful. I was really surprised at how good the animation is. I'm probably going to put on screen what studio did it. I think Studio Bones. If I'm wrong, I'm probably going to correct myself while editing this video. But I gotta say, the animation of this series is really cool and great. And I usually don't really care about animation. I'm usually like a story person, as long as your story is good. Unless you are shonen, which your animation is primarily your main thing that people are going to mainly focus on, I usually don't pay attention to it. It's story altogether. That's what I like. And I gotta say, the characters are really good too. They all have their like unique backstories. Like Osamu was probably one of my favorite characters of this whole like series, and I'm pretty sure all the anime girls love him. I'm pretty sure there's probably a bunch of girls that really love him. I just love him as a character because he just seems cool, and it gives me vibes from Orihara from Dorarara, because he's probably insane, but he's practically the coolest character out there. And yeah, I think that's the main things I like about this series. Now I'm gonna go about the things I didn't like about the series, and you could comment if I'm wrong or right. But Nakajima doesn't seem like an interesting character. And keep in mind, this is the first season I'm watching. There's like 5 seasons of this whole anime, which is really surprising because this series don't seem like it'll get 5 seasons, but hell, it got 5 seasons. It's really popular, so I guess it does. Nakajima doesn't seem like a character that I'm gonna be invested the whole time. He kind of has his like Deku moments where he's not the most interesting character in the show, but you know, he's a character, he's the main character, so I guess we have to focus on him. Also, the pacing of this series. The first season kind of was so like fast paced. And don't get me wrong, fast paced animes are probably the best kind of animes to watch a little bit, but the pacing was way too fast for me. Maybe people are different, but the pacing was really fast, and I feel like there's certain moments in the series where I feel like they could have held on to that information for the later seasons. Like, spoiler warning if you not watch the first season. If you watch this video, you probably watched it. But Osamu was part of the mafia, and I feel like they could have held on to that information until the later seasons, because I feel like blurting it out as the same episode where you're like, oh, what's his secret? Like, he's the only person in this organization that no one knows the past of. And I feel like them just revealing it in the same episode kind of left a really sour taste in my mouth. Pause. because of the fact that I feel like if it would have just held on to it until the like later on the series, even the next season, I didn't really even care. But I feel like they could have held on to that information. Also, the villains in this series, they're not as a threat as I thought they were, because they hyped them up to be like this big old threat to like the organization. And let's be honest, the real only threat is the main person we really focus on in the Mafia for as the first season, and it's Akiragawa, and he's really the biggest threat when it comes to the Mafia, because they have this whole episode where they're like, if the Mafia came to our building and they launch a full-blown attack, we couldn't do anything about it, and they beat them easily. And I feel like that kind of devalued the Mafia. Keep in mind, this is the first season, so maybe they get stronger. But the first season, they made them look kind of weak because they only really took them out. And Akiragawa is probably the only person that's like a real threat when it comes to this whole series. And I gotta say, them spamming Nakajima's past was like the past of like Naruto on the swing. They just keep spamming it. I'm like, yeah, we get it, bro. You're an orphan, bro. Like, they want us to make us feel bad for the character, but the character is not that interesting right now. Also, in this series, they revealed who has the bounty on Nakajima's head is a rich person who wants to collect people with special abilities. Like I said, I feel like they could have waited until later on in the series to reveal it. I also have not read the manga, so it's probably different from the, probably doing the same pace as the manga, but I feel like they could have done more when it comes to like keeping it like a suspense for the people who's only really watching the anime and have never read the original source material. That's my only gripe with this series. But I'm gonna say this series is a great watch. The action is cool. The comedy is really, really good. Especially when Osamu was like bullying Kokita to be writing in this journal for useless stuff. And there's a really good gag in there. Pause. A funny gag moment. Pause. In this series where they just go back and forth. And like I said, this anime was enjoyable to watch. I just think the pacing of the anime was kind of fast, and I feel like they could have hold on certain things. But what do you guys think? Comment down below. Like this video if you like this video. If you guys want me to review more Stray Dogs, comment down below, because I want to explore the other seasons, because they have 5 seasons and that gives me a lot to talk about. And the series might improve from there, from my perspective. If you guys like this video, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and tell me who is your favorite character in this series, and if you guys like this series or not. See you guys later. Peace.